Welcome to making mailing labels in Word, followed by making labels in Google Docs. The main idea of this is to create three different kinds of labels. The first one will be a whole sheet of all the same label, maybe like you would make a return address label. The second one is for creating a page of multiple labels, maybe for mailing out cards or notices or newsletters or something like that to a group of different people, all with different names and different addresses. So that's where we're starting. The third one would be how to add a graphic to a label. So we'll talk about those. And once we've gone through those, then I'll shift over to Google. Google doesn't have quite as many options, and you do have to purchase the program after 30 days. So my 30 days has run out. I was supposed to use this earlier, and there was some miscommunication, and so I don't have the program, but I'll walk you through it. It's pretty easy. All right, so we're going to start. You will notice that I have a handout up. This handout, Making Labels in Word, is going to be available with the video. And there will be a link to that video, to this handout. The second handout, obviously, is the other one for making labels in Google Docs. So if you're choosing one or the other, make sure you download the handout. I've put pictures and so forth in the handout so that you can easily follow along with what to do. All right, so you will notice that our first one is all labels are the same, identical labels. So we're going to open up Word and we're going to go to Mailings and Labels, and we're going to select Options, and we're going to choose a label vendor and a product. So I'm going to go to that. So here is my Word. It's opening. Here's my blank document. And if you recall, I said we're going to go to Mailings. And when we click on Mailings in the top menu, we go to Labels. When we go to Labels, we have a place to type in an address. You will notice that there are two tabs at the top, Envelopes and Labels. You can set it up for envelopes, and you can run envelopes through a printer if yours will take them, and it will print the address right on the envelope. You'll notice that we have two choices, a single label or a full page of the same label. We're obviously going to do the first one, but if you had a single label that you wanted to print, and let's say you had a sheet of labels and the first two rows were gone, you could say, okay, I want a single label and I want to have it printed on row 3 and column 1. And that way then you feed your sheet in, it measures down to where that label should be, and that's where it will put it. We're going to do a full sheet. Over here to the right, I've already selected the label that I used in another application. I'm going to change that. So you will notice that this is address labels. I want to do return address labels. So I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to scroll down just a little bit below that until we find return address labels. Now, you'll notice that there's a number out in front, and I am working with Avery labels. There are lots of brands of labels. They're all listed here, lots of them. There's from 3M all the way down to the one at the bottom is Unistat. We're going to stick with Avery. And the one that I picked was something. No, I picked the wrong one. Sorry, it was Avery US letter. And I want the one that starts out with a T, believe. And so let me roll back up. All right, lost my number. Notice one, you might want to make business cards. You can buy those and print those. This technique would work the same for that. There we go. Return address labels. So we'll just pick this one. They're only 66 hundredths of an inch high, 1.75 wide, and we'll say okay. And up here I need to type my name and address. So I'm going to be Lisa Smith, and my address will be 1234 North A Street. And my city is Jonesville, Illinois. I have no idea what a zip code is. I don't even know if there's a town named that. So we'll just call it 61602, which happens to be Peoria, Illinois zip code, but you get the idea. All right, now I have no idea if this is going to fit. So I want to see what it looks like. So I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go down here to font. And it tells me that I'm working in size 11 regular, and I could go to a different size, and I am going to change it to a 9. These labels are pretty small and therefore return address labels. And so in my experience, I found that 9 works pretty well. Okay, so you'll notice that if I pull here under the font, I can go down and pick a different one. I'm going to go down and pick Times New Roman. You can pick whatever you want. I like Verdana too, but I think I will do Times New Roman. And that way, I'm setting myself up hopefully for the fact that my printing will fit. You'll notice that it's now Times New Roman and it's a smaller font. So once I have that all done, and you will notice that I'm going to show you that direction piece again. I worked my way down through. We picked our label. I've typed it in. You'll notice that it says you can use an address from your contacts list if you want. You can go in and insert address. I just typed it in. And I changed the formatting by using the font option. Notice it says select the text, right click and make changes with font. You can also change the paragraph if that were the need. And I clicked OK. And now I need to make sure that full page of the same label is checked. I already know it is because I told you that at the beginning. And then I'm going to select print or new document. I'm not going to print. I'm going to select new document. So I'm going to go back to my labels, which are here, and I'm going to click print, pick new document. And you will notice that my return address labels are now all the same. I could go to file print now, entering my correct labels in. It knows that this particular label from Avery has this much space at the top and this much space around the sides. And that's the great idea of picking a template. If I go up here to File, Save As, I can save it. You want to make sure you save it in a place that you know, and I'll show you in my case, I have a folder called Letters. And within my folder called Letters, I already have my return labels for other things. I even have done small 5x7 envelopes where I put addresses on those. So I would go up here and be sure you give it some kind of a name. You'll notice that I'm very specific in my name. So I would say return address. And a good idea sometimes is to put in the name of the number of the label. And of course, I've already forgotten what it was. So I'm going to go back here and see if I can figure out what we used. Mine is right. It's too late. I can't remember what it was, and it's not important. You know that you probably should do that. So I'll go back and I would hit save, put the number in, hit save. I'm not going to save it because it's not something that's useful to me, but you get the idea that you have a whole page of labels and the directions are very clear as to those steps. Okay, so I'm going to do File New, and I'm going to go back to that document just so that you can see. Whoops, not the Google Docs one yet. We're going to do Word. So notice if you need just a single label, I've already mentioned this, that you can have a position by column and row and do that. So now we're going to do different labels on a page. And this one is the most complicated because You, you can type every one of the labels in. You would pretty much, I'll show you how that's done. But I want you to know that you can pull from a database. So if you have a card mailing list, maybe for an organization or your Christmas card list or the members of your faculty or something like that, you can go and set up an Excel spreadsheet. And so I'm going to, whoops, I got to back up here. The first thing you need to know is that you're going to do a mail merge from an Excel spreadsheet. So you've got to have the Excel spreadsheet set up already, right? So I'm going to get out of this and just notice that you're making them from a spreadsheet in Excel. So I'm going to show you my Excel spreadsheet. So I already have it open. It's right here. You will notice that I set it up so that I have first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, their complete name, and if I want a prefix. So I have two options. I'm going to use first name, last name, address, city, state, zip. I did the complete name because I thought you might be interested to know that a great time saver is if you have first name and last name. I like that because then I can sort on their last name column, and that means that all my list would be in alphabetical order by last name. If I want it to be in alphabetical order by city, I could do that. So I like to keep the last name and first name in separate columns. But if you'd like to have a complete name, you can do that. And I would have you notice that up here at the top, the cell that I'm in over here in column G says equal A2 plus quote, space, quote, plus or ampersand B2. And that's a code for saying, hey, we want to take what's in cell A2, we want to add a space. That's what quote, space, quote is. And then we want to add what's in B2. So it took Jean that was in A2, it added a space between those two names, and then it put Tulin in the second part. I then copied that. If you grab this cell and grab this corner and drag it down, it will copy it and it will adjust. So if this was row 2, so those were A2 and B2, then the next one will be A3 and B3, and the next one A4 and B4, and it'll adjust those automatically for you. And so it's just a quick way to get that done. But I'm going to use first name, last name, address, city, state, zip instead of the complete name. And I'm not going to put a prefix. So that has to be done before you start your labels. All right. And you can update it from year to year and use it. All right. So again, I don't want the Google Docs one. We want to work in Word. So I'm going to go to Word, and we're going to do a little bit differently than we did for the first one. For the first one, we did mailings and then labels. But instead, we're going to go to mailings, and then we're going to go to start mail merge, and we're going to go down to labels. We could start there, or we can go here to step by step. I'm going to go to step by step. You can go to labels. If you go to labels, then you have to know that the next step is to go to select recipients, and the next step is edit recipients and work your way across. I'm going to do it this way so that you see how easy it is to follow this step by step. Where I went to mailings, start mail merge, and then when I clicked on that, I got this drop down and I click on step by step mail merge. So over here on the side, we have the choices, and we want to make labels. So I clicked on labels. And we are now in step 1 of 6. Now we're going to start the document. So I click on next. So now it is, do you want to, how do you want to set up your mailing labels? Do you want to start with an existing document, or do you want to change the document layout? And down here, we can click our label options. So that's what we want to do. We're going to change the document, and we're going to click on our label options. This box should look a little bit familiar. It's very simple, similar to the box that we had earlier. We just don't have a place to type in an address because we're going to pull from a mail merge instead. So as you can see, I'm looking for and it's in the twos. I want address labels. I could have taken the first one there. There, we're going to use this one. Address labels. They're 1 inch high, 2.63 wide in inches, and on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. So it's 22837. See if I remember that when I get ready to save this. So we click OK. And it asks us to next select our recipient. So we've chosen our label and we're going to click next. Now we're on step 3 and it says use an existing list. And that's what we want to do. We have an exist list we've already made. You do have some others. You can type your list all from here, or you can select from your Outlook contacts. I'm going to click browse and go find my list. I happen to know it's in my documents. It's in my DKG folder. It's in my communications and publicity folder in mailing labels. And at the very top, second one is labels list, open. I only have one sheet. It really is wise when you're going to use a mail merge to do an insert function from the sheet, single sheet, and not have multiple sheets in the file, but you can do that. You would just be sure you need to know which sheet you want to use. They would all show up here. The next one is that I have first name, last name, city, state, address, etc. in that top row. So I need to make sure this box is checked. First row of data contains column headers. That means it'll ignore those column headers and won't make a mailing label out of it. So I'm going to say, okay. Here is my list. And you will notice that it goes all the way down here. And right now they're all selected, meaning it's going to make a mailing label for every one of these. However, if I didn't want to make one for myself, I could uncheck that box and then that one won't be done. So I'm going to say, okay. You will notice that I now get next record, and we'll talk about that as we go forward. So now we're ready. We're down here. We're following the instructions. We're ready to arrange your label. So I'm going to say next. And I have choices. I can use the address block, or I can put in my own things. I'm going to do the address block. And because of the way I set up my sheet, you'll notice that it's put the label in front. I don't want that. So I'm going to go back up here and choose this first one. Notice it took out the intro. This is my second person in my list. Remember, I dropped my name out. So this is my second person in the list. And it's exactly the way I want it. City, state, zip, the street, address, and her name. So I can say, okay. And my address block is now in. Down below, I need to replicate my labels, and I do that by updating them. So it says you can copy the layout of the first label to the others on the page by clicking the button below. So I'm just going to say update. And now it has put all of those in. Now you might say, well, wait a minute, it's got new record in there. Well, here's what it's for. When it prints the first label, it goes to the next record here. It sees that and it knows that instead of reading the rest of the information in that line, it should go to the next line in the spreadsheet. And every time it sees next record, it goes to the next line, to the next line, to the next line. And it knows that it's done on that line and ready to move to the next one. So I now have my labels updated. My step 4 is done, arrange your labels. The next one is preview, but I need to hit next. So you keep hitting next, and there are my labels. Now I will tell you that I'm not comfortable with this because those are double spaced. And so I'm going to go back and go back and I think I want to go back one more. Yes. And I want to go into address block. And I'm going to highlight this. And the problem is that you don't have any options for fixing that. So if you're happy with it, you can go forward, uh, complete the merge, and we're now ready to print the labels. You will notice that for some reason, uh, this label got messed up. And I'll be honest, I don't use this very often, the technique that I've shown you, but I wanted you to see that if it works for you and you get everything's the way you want it, you're done. All right. However, what I want to do is show you another option. And so we're going to start all over, and I'm going to do File New and Blank Document. I like some control, so I'm going to go to Mailings, Start Mail Merge, and instead of being over here on the side, I'm going to choose, I'm not going to do this step by step. I'm going to go to Labels. And I'm still on the label that I chose earlier, Avery 22837. So that's okay. And you will notice that I have my sheet in front of me. My cursor is here. We're going to select our recipients, which is use an existing list. And you recall how I went and I found my list. So that's not any different. The different part is coming up in a minute. So I'm going to open mailing labels and I'm going to pick my list. And I'm going to say, okay, notice there's my next record. And edit my recipient list. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to take my name out of the first one in the list. You have some other things you can do. You can look for duplicates. You can find a recipient if you just wanted to start somewhere else. Validate requires a special program if you're trying to validate them with U.S. Postal Service. You can sort your list. You can do those things from here if you would like. I would probably be tending to do those inside of Excel, but you can do it from here. All right, so I'm going to say, okay. So now I need to set up my label. And rather than using the address block, which is here, I'm going to go over to Insert Merge Field. And I'm going to choose first name. And I'm going to say Insert. And then I'm going to close that because I need a space. So I'm going to click space. And now I'm going to go back to Insert, and I'm going to insert last name and Insert. And then I'm going to go to the next. I got to get out of this, and I'm going to use my enter, and I'm going to choose insert merge field again and put in my address and hit return and insert city, comma, space, insert state, and insert, whoops, I need a space, whoops. So I will hit space or 2, used to be 3. And now I have my label ready. But I don't like that. I would like that to be more compact. So I'm going to go over here. Now, notice what I did. Whoops, sorry. I highlighted that label. And I'm going to go over here to line spacing. And you will notice that I have the option to go single space. And I have the option to remove space after the paragraph and remove space before the paragraph. Now that I've done that, you'll notice that it's more compact. So now I have my label the way I would like it to be. So now I'm going to go, I did my insert merge field. Now I'm going to go next to that, and I'm going to go update labels. And when I click update, you will notice that on each of the label, we have next record and then first name. Last name is on the second line, but next record is not going to print. And so what's going to happen is that once next record is not printed, first name will move over to the left margin and last name will move up to that row. I did do a return after last name. And so that means that Address will be on the next line, and city, comma, state, and zip will be on the next line. So it all looks good. The next thing I want to do is preview my results. So I click preview results, and I can see all my labels. If you'd like to move through the labels, you can do that with using the arrows up here. This arrow will take you all the way to the last record. So notice what happens when I do that. The last person in my list ends up at the top in the very first position. If I hit this arrow with the line, that'll take me back to the first one. And that means everybody in between will be there as well. So notice what you're doing. You can look through it. Maybe you wanted to make sure somebody got married and you want to make sure that you have their address right. You can just roll down your list if you would like, or you can go through the recipients 1, 2, 3. And it's totally up to you what you want to do. Remember, recipient 1 was me and I took me out. So that's why it says that this person here is recipient number 2. The last thing I'm going to do is I can hit finish and merge. You get a drop down. Look at your choices. Print document, edit individuals, or send email messages. And I do use the send email messages for work. It allows you to bring email addresses into Outlook in a mail merge. And you can do, 20 emails and put people's names in them. And Outlook doesn't have the limits that Google does. So it does let us send a lot of emails out to customers. We don't do it very often, but every once in a while after a tech show, we do that. So notice that I have this ready to go. I would then go up here to File and click Save As. And I would save it with something like addresses for such and such, Avery 22, ooh, maybe it was 383. I don't know. Told you I wouldn't remember. So that's how you save it. When you're done, you can close it down after you've done your print. You would do File, Print, and put your labels in the printer and print them. So keep that in mind that that's what you want to do. I did want to show you that when you come back to this, I am going to save this on my desktop just so that you can see what happens when you come back to it. So I'm just going to call it sample so that I can save it on my desktop. And I can throw it away later because it has no value to me. All right, so what I want to do is close it down. And I want you to see, I'm not going to save the originals. I'm going to go to my desktop and find that. I called it sample. It ought to be easy to find. Well, there's another way to do this. We will go back to Word and I will do File. And there it is right there. It's on the desktop. I just didn't see it. So I'm just going to go ahead and open it. And notice when I open it, it says this document will run the following SQL command. And I don't know what SQL stands for, but you notice it's going to select from sheet 1. So the Microsoft Word knows that this set of labels is connected to sheet 1 in that Excel file. And so if I say yes, there they are. Now, the secret is once you've put the Excel file connected to this, don't rename the Excel file. Don't move it somewhere else. It's got to be in the same place that it was when you did the project, because if you don't, it will not be able to find it and you'll have to start all over. But if you don't move your Excel file, then your labels, you can bring them up and do them over and over again. You can edit your Excel file. You can edit your labels. You decide how you want to do that. But that's what happens when you open that up. All right. The last thing I want to show you is how to, and it is the last thing on that list. We've gone through all of this about mail merge. I did do a little bit more. I didn't use the step-by-step. I did it once and let you see that. And then I went ahead and I like a little more control. So I did it by using the menus instead of that side panel. If you want to make let's say a name tag, or you want to make a name badge or something like that, maybe a business card. You can do that. You can buy sheets of those and you can arrange them exactly the way I'm doing these mailing labels. And I'm going to show you how to do that. I do not know how to do it unless they're all the same. And that's what I'm going to show you. There may be a way to add a graphic and make them different, but I don't know how that is. And that's, well, I can research it if somebody desperately wants to know. So I'm going to create this label here. Again, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you get the idea. It could be name tags, it could be business cards, whatever. Maybe you just want to put a cute little picture, tiny one, in front of your address labels. It's up to you. So here's the steps. They're very easy. The first thing you want to do is you want to make your, just a regular Word document, you want to make what you want your label to look like. So I've done that. I'm going to insert. Now, I did this once before and it worked fine. And then I did it with a different picture and it didn't work fine. So you'll have to play around with what picture you want to use. And I just realized that the last time I did this, I went here to Google Images and I searched for a rose graphic and I found this one and I really liked it. So I'm going here and I'm going to copy that image. What I should do is save it. Save image as. We'll put it in this file where I have everything else for this. And right here, and mailing labels. And we'll put it right here, rose. I do want you to notice that this is a JPEG file, JPG, and that's a real high quality graphic. I can't find a connection to whether it's a JPEG or whether it's a GIF or whether it's a PNG, but this one works. I did another one that I had in my own stock and it didn't work. So I don't know why. You'll just have to play with it and see. So now I'm going to go find that image. So I'm going to insert picture and from this device. So I'm going to go to documents and I'm going to go to that folder, which is right here. And there's my rose and insert it. Now I took that from a website and it needs to be formatted a bit. So I'm going to click my picture format and crop. When I crop, I get these little handles that allow me to bring in this, and that means I can get rid of that little blue across the bottom. And once I have it where I want it, I hit crop again. And now I can make it smaller. So we're going to also click here. I want this image to go where I want it to go on the page. So I'm going to change my mark. Just move my font size a little bit. Okay. So the first rule is on a Word doc, make your label the way it is. And it's really easiest if that's the only thing that's on your page. Because now I'm going to do Control A, which you'll notice selects everything. I don't want this space down here. So I'm going to backspace to get rid of that. Now I'm going to do Control A again, and you'll notice now I have just the two pieces that are going to make up this label. Okay. So now we're going to go to mailings and labels. It says, don't worry if your graphic doesn't show here. And of course, it's that same address labels that I had earlier. I'm going to keep those, although I would probably go find another one that's more appropriate as far as size goes. But I want a full page of this label. So I'm going to click New Document. And there they are. Now I have to tell you that I probably would go back and hit a return and move all of this down a step, move this down like this. And I wouldn't do it like this. I would instead, there we go. I don't know that I like that either, but I would do a little work with this ahead of time. Now that I've seen that, my one that I made earlier came out really nice, and I probably spent more time on it, but you get the idea. Here's what it looks like. And by the way, here are the directions. You notice I was right there and I chose new document and I have numbered all that. And then I did name tags, or these are more like calling cards. And you can see that that's what it looked like. So that's a way to get a picture in. And you could do something like a pretty fancy first letter or something like that. But I wanted you to see that. So that's how to make labels, both with a graphic and again, I wouldn't go through and change every one of these. I would go back and start over and know that I need to do a little more work getting it in the center. All right. So the second part of this is using Google Docs and making labels. And keep in mind that Google is free, and that means then that you don't always get, you can't do always everything that you want. The first step is to open a Google Doc. So I've gone to my Google account and I'm opening a Google Doc. And here's one right here. And we're using the second handout, which is this one. Open a blank document, open a new Google Doc, and leave it blank. Now, here's the part that I am only going to get to go so far. Under Label Maker, which I'll show you where that is, we want to open something called Label Maker. And the way you do that is you go to the extensions menu and go to add-ons, and then you find create and print labels. So I'm going to walk you through that, but I can't go any farther because I ran out of time on this. And I'll be honest, I don't want to buy it. I don't need it. I would do it in Word. So you'll notice I go to extensions, I go to add-ons, I go to get add-ons. And up here in the top, mailing labels. And I think this, it's this one, create and print labels. They're all basically the same. This is the one I chose. It says it's installed, but if I go to use it, it will tell me that I have to buy it because my 30-day free trial is over. I'm going to install this one and see what happens. Yeah, that's what the internet is. Okay, so we'll see if we can get this real quick here. So it's done. All right. So keep in mind, I haven't seen this one, but all of them are pretty much the same. So now when I go to extensions, you will notice that I have two. And again, if I choose this second one, I can tell you it's going to say your 30 days have run out. So I'm going to try this one and start. And it's loading. So you can do a merge here, and it talks about that. Um, I don't really want to do that, but I'll let you follow that. If you have any questions, I would certainly try it, but this isn't what we wanted to do. So I'm going to get out of that and go back. And let's see if I can do. We'll go back and get another document. If I go here and just go, I don't want to start. I want to go to Avery Label Maker Custom. And Here's where you would tell it what it is. I'm a little surprised that it's an Avery thing and they won't let you just put in the label. They came up with a standard one here, 1 inch height and 2.625, that's 2 5/8 wide. So we'll just go with that and use that one. So notice I'm on a free trial. I'm limited 30 labels per merge, and I only have 20 merges left. So this isn't working. I will tell you, this is not as working as easy as the other one. The directions are so much easier, and I'll let you read those. I'll get you started. You go to extensions, you go to create, print labels, create labels. And what happens is that this opens up over here and you select a template. You pick the one you want. We'll take this one, easy peel, and use. And then when it comes up, you'll see you have your template and you literally type your label in here. And then if you have the version that allows you to do this, you've either bought it or you're within the 30-day free trials. Down here in this corner, it asks you to update your labels by copying